And we are rolling. Only one Kenobi here, only one. Sorry about the lateness of this video, talking about Mando chapter 12, I believe. Yes, episode 4 of season 2. I've got some notes here. I actually went on to two sides. Really good episode, really great. I shall talk you through what I saw and reminisce with you, because obviously you will have seen it. And there are spoilers in this. If you are on this, if you haven't seen it, well, that's crazy, because I'm going to talk about it. So, you know, I don't know anyone. I don't understand why people would want to watch a non-spoiler review. You're either going to watch it or you're not, really, aren't you? Anyway, so the first thing that happens is the blue wire and the red wire. No, the blue. And it reminded me so much of, no. This one goes there. That one goes there, right? And then, you know, other things like, no. You know, the bit with Rey and Finn, that was a nod to that as well. It was just so funny. The kid is so, he's like, the baby, the cute baby noises he makes, brilliant. I love that. You okay? And you're like, gets shocked or whatever. Fantastic. The other cool bit about that sequence was that Mando is having, I didn't even notice this the first time I watched it. I don't know what I was doing. I think I was eating my dinner actually the first time I watched it, but so you miss little things. But he was drinking, just lifting his helmet up and doing that, because I've been wondering the whole season, how does the guy drink in front of people? Does he have to go to the toilet, something like that, and drink on the sly? But he might not lift his helmet in public like that, but he certainly was comfortable doing it in front of the child like that. So I don't know how it works. But anyway, so straight after that, he says that we'll go back to Navarro to get some repairs done. Cuts to a load of Ponda Barber style creatures that are in the armourer's old basement, I believe. You can see the furnace in the background. They're up to no good. In comes Cara Dune, who is now the Marshal, which was pretty cool. You know, she'd certainly fill that role, fill the boots of that role really well. Looking at Navarro, obviously it's calmed down a lot there, but it just makes you think about Star Wars. It is the Wild West. It's brilliant seeing that they've got marshals in towns, just like you had the fella on Mos Pelgo and stuff like that, because if it is a lawless time, which most of Star Wars period is pretty lawless, that certainly is a lawless time in between transition of governments, you know what I mean? Like you've got the Empire, New Republic, whatever. So I like the whole concept of that. I just thought I'd say. In Navarro, there's a school there. He takes the child in. You meet maybe I'm digressing. I should really stay on track here. I've got notes here, but I'm going off on one. But I was going to mention the blue guy later. The blue guy from the very first episode of season 1 is there. He does that because it's funny. The first line, the squid head guy or the people who were roughing him up in the bar, they say, they're talking in a funny language, but the subtitles, and they talk about his musk is still sweet. So obviously these guys secrete a musk, obviously when they're nervous, because that's what he did when he saw Mando. So the blue guy's there. I was going to say there's a school there, and I got sort of like kind of dodgy prequel flashbacks when I first saw that there was a school. But then that was pretty well done. The teacher was a protocol droid, like 3PO. In the school, there was a little scene where, you know, before he drops the kid off, he says, you know, where he goes, I go. And you feel quite nervous about leaving the child there. And to be honest, what is the security like in the school? Not that we need to think too deeply about the plot lines here, but, you know, obviously the child was safely dropped off there and there was no harm done to him. But there was a scene with biscuits, I thought they were, like macaroons, whatever. And the child, hungry as he is, was looking at the macaroons. And it's quite funny. The kids sort of looked at him and said, you know, because he's asking for one. And then the kid just goes, no, like that. Really funny. And then he uses the Force, brings them over, eats them. We'll come back to the macaroons later. They do feature a bit later in the episode. So that was all pretty good. The blue guy is there. Then they get into some plot. There's a base that they want to infiltrate to get rid of it. This is one thing I was thinking about at the very beginning of the episode. When I first saw Cara Dune and Grease Karga, is it his name? Carl Weathers. They came out and I thought to myself, how the hell are they so safe there? Given what happened to Moff Gideon, they don't know it, but Moff Gideon survived. Surely he would have gone back to strike back, no pun intended there, but obviously not. But then to find out that there's an Imperial base actually on there, that they're sharing a planet with an Imperial base, I thought, oh my God, that is a dodgy situation. But anyway, they think it's a skeleton staff. Oh my God, oh Jesus. They think that there is a skeleton staff there, and there is, sort of, but they want to go, and he says, as he puts it, I want them off my planet, Mando, or whatever. So they go to this Imperial base. They get inside. There's lovely subtle nuances of the Empire there. Even another lift, which is quite elevator. I'm sorry, Americans. An elevator door that's reminiscent of the Death Star elevators. Long story short, they get in there. There is a heat shaft or some sort, like a kind of obviously it's where they're getting their power supply from, obviously the natural source of the volcanic pool in the bottom there. Bit of banter there, harking back to the original trilogy in 1977. There's no guardrail on this thing. They have to they get the guy with Musk with them, the blue guy. He goes round and then he sort of does something pretty similar to what happens on Mustafar. He lowers the security shield or the heat sensitive defense shield or whatever this technology is working, and it starts to burn up. However, when he goes round, he's quite nervous about going round on this guardrail, where there's no guardrail. On this platform, this control panel platform, I'm bambling on it. I've really got to do this in one take. I've got to move on and do other stuff today. You hear classic noises like the when Obi-Wan Kenobi is detuning the tractor beam. So that's all good. There's after that, more security come on the scene. There's some stormtroopers there. It's fantastic. This base has got a guy who's an Imperial officer in black uniform. He gets taken out by Cara Dune. I don't know if he lives that or not, but it looks like they kill him, to be honest. It's quite brutal, this program. There's quite a lot of violence in there. But there's stormtroopers. And what I liked about the stormtroopers in this whole episode is the fact that they have almost... like this, they speak the script of the original trilogy, like, there they are, blast them. But it's in a different voice. And then they also have things like, all right, men, launch your weapons. However, there is one guy who is speaking. One stormtrooper sounds just like the original stormtroopers. Like, I don't know who voiced them. Like, the ship's all yours. All right, let's go. You know, that guy on the hangar in the Death Star. And, you know, we are opening the magnetic field. Whoever did that voice has got a really rich tone that is embedded in the fabric of Star Wars, classic Star Wars. Sounded like it was him talking. So either they've got some old takes of somebody, the guy who did it, or they have got the guy back. I really don't know. But that felt pure, as pure can be in the Star Wars sense. After they turn off they're trying to blow up the base, so they basically turn off the power generator, whatever it is, and it becomes vulnerable to the volcanic pool. They encounter some Imperial scientists, and they have a bit of a shootout. They're involved, but they get shot, and one of them falls over the console. In true Star Wars style. But then it turns out that they're in a cloning facility, and I thought to myself, here we go, what is this about? This is interesting. I have watched a few reviews. Last few reviews I have done for this series of mine, I've not looked at any reviews, I've just done mine. Everyone is going on about Snoke. It could have been Snoke. The music, they're going, oh, the music, Snoke, yeah. Hang on a minute. That music, if anything, screams out the Opera House more than anything. The Opera House was always one tone like that. You know what I'm talking about? Snoke's theme was similar, but it had more of a melody to it, right? So everyone's going on about Snoke's melody, and I'm sorry, I don't buy that at all. On second and third view, and I look at it and I think it could be Snoke. And that reminds me, I'm going to do a video all about Snoke. I've got my own little theory about him, which I have spilt the beans on. I will say again, I'm confident, or I wished that the scenario of Snoke was this. I wish that he was a clone of Sidious and Plagueis, because it was so hard to clone. It was force sensitive that they had to use the genetics of two, and then one way or another they figured it out. But, you know, the thing about this whole thing, I don't know where this is going with The Mandalorian now. If they're trying to do some sort of, you know, pre-story to what happens in The Rise of Skywalker, but they can never fix the mess of The Rise of Skywalker. They made Snoke moribund. Snoke was the best thing I found in The Last Jedi. That character had such potential, he had such charisma and spunk. And I thought, wow, he's really good, because you couldn't tell what he was in Force Awakens. He was just a hologram. But when he was talking in some of those scenes, and so powerful and so... I just loved Snoke. I'm not saying that I regretted him dying, but I just regret that they just suddenly told us who he was. Nothing. Was he puppeted by Palpatine? And why would he be? Where is Palpatine? Palpatine's dead. Why couldn't they have just made it so that he had some essence of Palpatine? So Palpatine is subconsciously there, because Palpatine's existence in the sequel trilogy era, going back, way back into legends and novels and stuff, is always been on the back of our minds. So way before we heard that trailer where you hear his laugh and you know that he's back, and then obviously we saw him back as that whatever he was, that weird clone. I'm sure subconsciously all of us wanted Palpatine to have some sort of thumbprint on whatever happened in these sequels. Even if he was a hologrammatic projection, that would have been great. But I just like that idea of Snoke being something to do with Palpatine, but he's not Palpatine, he's the next stage. But then Snoke became nothing, and they can never get around that. So if it is Snoke the clone in here, whatever. If it's Palpatine, also whatever. To be honest with you, though it's exciting and I was interested and pulled in, I don't know what to say. The M count thing, I've never been somebody who's had a problem with midi-chlorians. I understand people's gripe with that, because, you know, it'd be nice if everyone could tap into the Force, and some people have it more than others, but surely that comes down to genetics. It comes down to talent. People who are talented footballers have got something in their DNA more so than their average Joe. So it could be the fact that they're calling it an M, what do they call it now? An M count? Transfusions and stuff. It's all interesting. I'd like to see where they're going to go with it. But what I'm trying to say is we know what the pile of dung is at the end of the bloody journey, and that's the Rise of Skywalker. I don't think they can, unless they delete that film from our minds, there's no way that they can get rid of that thing floating in a tank. I'm talking about pickled Snokes here. That was just moribund. I don't know what I was led to believe there about Snoke. I thought there should be a grander story for Snoke. He was a big project. Like, he looks like he could be a big project here, but he wasn't. He was just one of two clones. Why would they clone Snoke if they could clone Palpatine? You know what I mean? Why would they bother? Anyway, I'm going off on one. So anyway, there's obviously some cloning going on. Palpatine or Snoke, we don't know. They talk about blood being rejected, which is interesting. The Stormy's dialogue, I've mentioned that. Let's turn over. This is the next page now. My God, this is going to be long. So there's a massive chase. The really good bit next is a good action sequence there. The speeder bikes are deployed. They go onto a troop transport, which they're talking about black market prices throughout the whole episode. That's why they want to kind of get rid of the base. They're worried about black marketeers coming and getting all of the Imperial stuff. So they just want to get rid of it. But even the blue guy is going, oh, look at my God, you know how much this is worth on the black market? So it's an Imperial troop transport thing, which is pretty cool. Gina Carrera, she's amazing in this episode. It's almost like, looks like she's getting off on the action. Like, she's like, something about her, man. She's got a lot of spunk. So they fly. Oh, yeah, that's what I was going to say. I made a note here. They fly now. What I was going to say was that scene in The Rise of Skywalker when they're being chased by stormtroopers. In this Mando episode when they're being chased by the speeder bikes, and then after the speeder bikes, then they get chased by TIE fighters. Quite hairy. That pissed all over what I saw in The Rise of Skywalker. I was so disappointed with that film. This was so much better. So they launch them off. You also see the TIE fighters launching like this, which is great. I thought that was just Moff Gideon's TIE fighter, but maybe all TIE fighters are designed like that, which is a massive revelation if it's true. But then it makes you think about The Force Awakens. In the hangar bay, they were all ready like that. Maybe that's to save time or something. You know, we always thought that TIE fighters were in that position and they could never ever get off that tall stance position. Anyway, whatever. So there's a big fight. They managed to escape. There was a slight element that you thought was going to be a little bit cheesy at the end, because they were all going like, whoa, because Mando comes and saves the day. He jetpacks off. He gets the Razor Crest. That's been fixed in a quick amount of time, to be honest with you. But anyway, the Razor Crest comes, saves the day, blows up all the TIE fighters. And it's like the triumphant music's going. It's like, whoa, yeah. And just at the point when you thought, oh, that's getting a little bit cheesecore, he turns around to the child and goes, that wasn't bad, was it, kid? Or something like that. And the child just goes, it's so funny. Because he's eating the macaroons still and he's loving the action. He's like, enjoying the battle. And then he barfs up his biscuit, his green coloured macaroon, whatever, which is just brilliant. The timing was so good for that. At the end, there's a little bit of a wind down time. The X-Wing pilot's back, who just plays the part of like a copper, basically. That's what X-Wing pilots are now, or maybe that's just his position and he just obviously wears his pilot uniform. You know, who was there, what did you see, yada yada, taking notes. Off he went. He obviously had some connection with Cara Dune. They were talking about Alderaan. Cara Dune says, you know, I lost everybody, and then he says, you know, I sympathize, I'm sorry for your loss. He's trying to talk her into joining the New Republic. She says to him, I'm not a joiner, or whatever. So she's happy enough where she is, but who knows what will happen with Cara Dune after that. I was going to say about the Razor Crest, when it turned around in the air, you saw it's kind of like air fins turning out, which was really good to see that. It reminded me of Open all flaps and drive fins on Revenge of the Sith again. I've mentioned that scene also in a previous episode, you know, when they're going into the Earth's atmosphere. Anyway, so then we cut to Moff Gideon then. Quite a good end, you know. You see you going underneath it's like a Star Destroyer. I believe that Red Leader 1 Malcolm has a model of this. I've never seen that ship before. It must be some sort of special mini Star Destroyer craft, which was nice. And Moff Gideon is on there. There is an Imperial who I was not sure of what gender he or she was, but it was a girl. It was a female, but it was very difficult to assess the gender. But she was cold. She was good. She was proper Imperial material. Imperial material. She goes through to Moff Gideon. They talk about the tip-off. They have put on one of the guys fixing the Razor Crest was this weird alien dude who has put a tracking device on there. And basically then she goes off to speak to Moff Gideon. Moff Gideon is in almost like a lab. So we've seen two laboratories, one on Navarro in that Imperial base. This looked like an active lab as well on the ship with lots of bays. You didn't see exactly what they were looking at. I thought it was troopers as well when I looked at it. I couldn't see what he was looking at. But everyone's saying, oh, it's dark troopers. We don't know for definite yet. Could be anything. They could just be containers of something else. Or just uniforms. I don't know. Anyway, she says, oh, we've got the acquisition, or they know where the acquisition is, a.k.a. Baby Yoda or the child. That's who they're after. They want his blood. And then he just looks at these things and smiles. He's really good. And Moff Gideon's theme, I've been humming it all weekend. It's been stuck in my brain. Hang on. But all the time in the background. So I need to multi-track myself to replicate that for you. Can't do it now. Anyway, there you are. That is the episode. It was really good. It was almost like a bit like, you know, let's crack on now. I want to know what's going on. There was no Ahsoka Tano. There was nothing other than those revelations of the cloning, which was quite interesting. Really interesting. In fact, I do welcome this cloning thing in a way, because I would like to some sort of tidy up of what I saw in The Rise of Skywalker, because boy, was I disappointed with how that sequel trilogy ended. Really, really sloppy. Like it was written by a comic book guy. Oh, it was. It was, wasn't it? JJ's friend, whatever his name is, I can't remember. Anyway, I have been Only One Kenobi. If you are new around here, subscribe. There's been a lot of babble episode there. Talking from the heart, talking no scripted. Well, no notes there. Thank you for watching Only One Kenobi. Only one. Out.